Hi there and welcome to this video. The start of a new year finally gave me the opportunity to execute an idea that I had for a long time. In this video I will show you the tests of the top 25 best trading strategies and their theoretical performance if you would use them in 2023. I will also compare these strategies' results with a Bitcoin investment baseline over the same year. This way I can compare a simple medium-long-term investment in Bitcoin against the performance of trading strategies and find out which method creates more alpha. And believe me, in this video you will see some very surprising results. So watch until the end to find out what my end conclusion is and what to take into consideration for the next bull cycle. In the last year, I regularly received the question why I did not include the data of 2023 when I was testing out the performance of algorithmic trading strategies with these backtests. The first reason is that I want to compare each and every algorithm over the same dataset so that I have an honest comparison over all the strategies. It wouldn't be fair to add additional data every time I test a new strategy, because that would influence the end result in a positive or negative way, depending on the direction of the market at that time. And remember that I will keep on using the original dataset in the future when I test new strategies' performances, just to keep these comparisons honest. Please keep that in mind when you are watching the future videos. Now, the second reason I wanted to wait this long is the result you will see in this video. I deliberately waited until the end of 2023 because I wanted to analyze the performance of the top 25 trading algorithms over the complete year. And this way I think I have a better idea of the performance of each strategy in comparison with the old data. Just as with machine learning, as explained in my video on Frag AI, you can use a piece of dataset to train a model and a second piece of a dataset to test. Now, in my case, I could train, or rather initially test the algos with data before the start of 2023, but the dataset to test over 2023 was not complete until the 1st of January 2024. So that's why I had to wait until this moment to finally be able to do these tests. Now, what about the setup for this test? Let's begin with the strategy leak and the algorithms that I will use in this video. At the end of the last year, I had the following leak table, including the obelisk Ichimoku slow result of my last video. I have put aside all the strategies files, including their optimization settings, whenever I optimize them. Now I will test each and every of these strategies in the order of position, starting with position 2025, the optimized smart money strategy. And then I will work my way back to the first position, the obelisk Ichimoku Zema. However, I will present these tested strategies in the order of their new position, making a countdown to the strategy that has the best performance over the data of 2023. In theory, that strategy would have the highest probability to make money with trading during last year's rally. Now, what about the time range and the origin of the data? Well, the data that I have downloaded comes from Binance, and I downloaded all data on January 1st, 2024. The time range of this data, and thus the backtest, is starting from the 1st of January 2023 until the 1st of January 2024. I downloaded this data with a similar command you will see on the screen here, so exactly a year's worth of trading data. The FragTrade config has all the information about which exchange to use for data downloading and the pairs to download data for. And speaking of pairs, I always use 50 pairs for testing out a strategy with a maximum of 10 trades at the same time. I could have kept this maximum open trades at the default of 3, but I changed it to 10, and that was just an arbitrary random choice at that time, and from that moment on I just keep on this setting. I thought a little bit more about the choice of pairs to use for these tests. I wanted to use pairs that provided enough liquidity so that I was able to step into and out of the markets easier. Eventually, the pairs were chosen from the CoinMarketCap snapshot of January 2nd, 2022. Now, not all pairs you've seen on this page were available on Binance, so I kept on adding available pairs to this list until I got 50 pairs in total. And for spot trading I used the following list of pairs, and for futures trading I used another list of pairs, since not all spot pairs were available as futures pairs at that moment. Now I also have a remark on the availability of some of these futures pairs, because during the period when I was determining this list and now, some pairs weren't available anymore on Binance. Or at least I could not get data for them anymore, so I had to comment some of them out. And so these will not be used in the test, unfortunately. By the way, all this information, including all the data, configs, settings and more, are all available on my Patreon site. And this way I try to be as transparent as can be. Everybody can have a chance to reproduce and check my backtest outcomes on their own machine. And if there are any problems or questions with this, I'm happy to help and find a solution for my patrons. Using this backtest time range and the pairs I configured, I backtest over multiple time frames. The reason for this is that I noticed that sometimes a strategy that was built for the 5-minute time frame performed much better on, let's say, the 1-hour time frame, and vice versa. The time frames I eventually chose are the 1 day, 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes and 50 minutes and finally 5-minute time frame. Now I could test over other time frames as well, like the weekly, 12 hour, 1 minute and so on. But I chose these other ones to balance out the time frames for long and medium term swing trading and shorter time frame scalp trading. Again, this is an arbitrary personal choice and it gives me a good view on which time frame an algorithm works best. Now there's one other remark I have to make, and that is the difference of time frame that ended up in the strategy league and the time frame that worked best in 2023. There will be strategies that had best results on the 30-minute time frame, for example, and in this test the 1-day time frame performed better. This is deliberately to demonstrate that the time frame is an important factor for the profitability of an algorithm. Now some YouTubers or other articles tell that their strategy only works best on a specific time frame, but I wanted to demonstrate that you can easily use someone's trading idea and use it on other time frames as well. After the backtest of each algorithm, the backtesting engine of the FracTrade bot provides all the performance information for that strategy and time frame. To compare the results between the time frames for the same strategy and the performance between different strategies, I created a scoring mechanism with which I can make performance comparisons. Take notice that the way I score certain results are also configured to my personal risk tolerance. I will use the same scoring mechanism for this video as I did with the other videos. And the results of the backtests and their corresponding end scores will determine the position for this video on a temporary league table. So, now that I have provided you with some background information about these backtests, let's begin with the results of the strategy that came last on the top 25 list. And do not expect an in-depth explanation of these strategies. For that you can visit my YouTube channel's playlist and watch the corresponding video about that strategy. Let's first watch the total market cap of crypto to see how the general price of crypto overall moved in 2023. If we use this as some sort of a baseline for the market movements, we can then compare this with the performance of the individual strategies. Of course, there were some dips that were great buying opportunities, but overall this has a classic higher high, higher low structure with a small consolidation between August and November. It's no coincidence that this total market cap closely follows the price of Bitcoin, since Bitcoin is the king of crypto and it still has the highest market cap. So let's use this information to create a baseline to which we can compare the performance of the strategies I will show later. Let's say we start 2023 with $1,000 for trading and $1,000 for investing in Bitcoin. So say that I bought and held $1,000 of Bitcoin on January 1st with a price of $16,499 approximately. Then selling that Bitcoin amount exactly 1 year later at a price of $44,180 gives us a profit of around 170%. This means that in the end we have a profit of around $1,700. In other words, my end balance on my crypto exchange would be the initial balance plus the profit, which is around $2,700 at that time then. Now if I make this 170% gain a baseline to test the profitability of the strategies against, then I can determine if trading could be profitable against investing, and also which strategies I better could have ignored in 2023. Let's now concentrate on the strategies I have tested in the last couple of days. Could we have gained more or less than 170% profit if we use one of the top 25 trading strategies? And what would the difference be? And also, how would the profile of the account balance look like? Profits right from the start and no looking back, or a nail-biting psychological nightmare? Let's find this out next. The first strategy that I will show you, and that ended up on the 25th spot, is the Obelisk Ichimoku Slow. In the strategy league, where a larger dataset was used, this algorithm took up the 15th position. However, if we were to use this strategy in 2023, this would actually provide us with a loss of 15%, ending your balance at around $848. The 30-minute time frame would still be the best time frame to use with this strategy, but no matter how you look at it, the first results directly makes the important statement that backtests over data in the past and the results and conclusions that can be done from then do not provide any guarantees that the same algorithm makes profit in the future as well. This is exactly the reason why I regularly give warnings on the results I present. They are hypothetical results that can, and listen good, can make money in the future, but it's all a matter of probabilities and there's no absolutes here. So let's take a quick look at the drawdown of this algo over the last year, which has an average score of 28%. And the average profit and loss, that gets positive around November with a couple of weeks that are in the green in October, but not enough to make the end balance of the account positive. So this strategy ends up as the last one in the test of the top 25 over 2023. Let's forget this one quickly and continue with the strategy that ends up as the number 24 on the list. Now, this strategy was actually an algorithm that I created as a test for another algo that I will present a little bit later. It performed surprisingly well and I left the results in the overall league, but I cannot remember I ever made a post or video about it. Not that it mattered much, because this one also did not perform very well over the data of 2023. It did make some profits at the end, so you did not lose all your money. But since we have established the baseline with the Bitcoin price, we can conclude that this strategy also did not perform great, only a meager 1.5% profit. It's funny because this algo had the 24th spot on the original league, and in this test it also has the 24th spot, so no change here. Also note that this algo was optimized against historic data as well, and this optimization did not prove to be the game changer for the last year's performance. Finally, the win-lose chart for the strategy does also not give me much confidence over its performance. Maybe one could cope with the losses in the beginning of the year, since it had a good winning rate, but after a while you would see your earnings dry up and turn into losses. And I can imagine that after a while you would stop this strategy because you only see losses and try another one instead. And that would probably somewhere at the end of the highest point of the drawdown. So, with this knowledge and the 24th spot known, let's move ahead with the number 23 on the list. And these are the official brothers of the strategy I just presented, the Stray Kids strategies on respectively spot and futures trading. The spot version has the following results, and the futures version has these results. The interesting part here that there's not much of a difference in gain balance between these two versions of the same strategy, even though one does only long trades in spot markets and the other one does long and shorts with futures positions. Now remember that I told you that the pairs on both these versions are not exactly the same, and it could be that more futures pairs would improve the performance of that version significantly. And looking at the weekly historic performance of these strategies makes it more clear. But overall, both these versions still perform very bad over the year, and I think more detailed investigation is needed why these performances lag behind. The spot version loses straight from the start, and only a couple of lucky trades saved your trading balance at the end of the year, which is lucky, but at the same time it's actually something that you rather do not want to see. You can see here on the detailed chart that at the end of the year the strategy had some lucky trades with AVAX, ICP and KSM that made this algo end up in the plus. And the same goes for the future-oriented strategy version as well. Although not as bad performing as the spot version, it still would have tested your faith in the algorithm over the most part of the year. And I do not believe that adding a few altcoins into this equation would make that much of a difference. If I would see the market rise and rise, but the strategy's performance stayed behind, I do not think I would keep the algo and hope for the best, just as with the previous results I showed. Because then I would count on luck and not on probabilities. And that is not the way I think about trading. But again, having a few lucky trades is not the point of having a well thought out algo. In my opinion, it should provide a feeling of consistency and preferably a trading balance that grows steadily but surely. But that's clearly not the case here with these two strategies that originally were placed at 10th and 16th position in the official league. So let's continue with the next strategy that ended up on the 21st spot. And that strategy is the Keltner and RSI strategy. In the original video I also optimized the parameter settings for the indicators, and for this exercise I also tested with these optimized parameters. But again we see the same kind of graph appearing, and I get the feeling that a pattern emerges for these strategies. From March until November there were more weeks that were in the red than in the green. And the average profit over these weeks became positive from around October, and that is eerily similar as with the other algos so far. Now again, the drawdown was highest around the third quarter of 2023, which is contradictory of the crypto market development. And again, this would put our faith to the test. Also, the overall performance of this strategy is not quite mention worthy. In this case, the end result is again greatly influenced by a couple of good trades at the end of the last year. And I'm starting to think that at this point, with these strategy types, there should be an additional indicator or an additional signal used that would detect a point where you enable or disable these strategies to prevent these drawdowns and improve the probability of better performance and profitability here. But maybe if we come closer to the top 10 or top 5 strategies, I have more information to make a better hypothesis on what happens here. So far we have only seen 5 performance results and that are not even in the top 20, so anything can still happen. The Power X strategy was originally placed at the 11th spot of the original league. But seeing it on the 20th place does not give this much confidence to me about the possible performance of 2023. However, looking at this chart, this strategy starts very positive with some nice positive weeks. But after a while it loses its edge and the account balance drops into negative territory, which results in a total drawdown of over 45% from its peak, with an average drawdown of 26%. Only around October does this strategy start to have positive weeks again, resulting in a positive end balance. And again, there is that same time period again where this medium-term strategy starts to attain its edge in the market again, just like the earlier strategies. Perhaps there is an obvious explanation that helps us understand this behavior. However, the reality check is real, and up until now there are no real survivors when it comes to the score so far. In my original league, scores of 125 points and lower gives an algorithm a place in the lower 25% of the list, and we are not even higher than 120 points at the moment. So let's quickly move on to number 19. Maybe this time we will get some hope that things will turn around. The Ichimoku Kinkuhio is one of my favorite trading indicators, and the Kijun Cross only strategy here is one of the variants that makes use of this indicator. This strategy was originally placed at the 23rd spot on the league, but in 2023 it sits at the 19th spot. So let's quickly see if this algo is worth our time. If we dive deeper into the portfolio balance over the year, then this view looks bleak and disappointing. This strategy would put your patience to the test the whole year, and again only had some lucky shots at the end of the year. If I only would show you the positive indicators on this strategy, then you would get a positive feeling. But this is a smokescreen on the overall performance profile of the strategy. It already started at the beginning of the year with a negative win ratio that remained the whole year, and the win rate was 30% over this year, which is the same as the original initial test of this strategy. Only this time it is highly probable that the let your winners run principle could not be attained. After the initial drawdown, small wins and losses kept the balance relatively stable between -$200 and -$300, except at the end of the year. Then the true strength of this strategy came into fruition, and it could detect trades that finally gave positive results. Another aspect of the relative bad performance of this strategy is that only 16% of the pairs responded well. So there should also be some further investigation why other pairs did not trade with this easy strategy. I cannot imagine that a coin like Chainlink or Litecoin never had a Kijun crossover over the whole year, even if it proved to be a losing trade. But let me continue, because we still have 18 strategies to go, so let's quickly move ahead. The SMA RSI strategy is yet another algorithm that scored reasonable at the end, but again it has a suboptimal account balance over the last year. It suffered more losing weeks than winning weeks, and it's only around October that it once again starts to gain momentum and ends up in the black numbers again. You had to endure a maximum drawdown of 25% over the year before finally you see its potential. And as I said earlier, just as with all the other strategies that were mentioned so far, this one also has a downwards portfolio balance before finally starting to rise again around October. The overall plot from the FracTrade bot shows us also the profile of the strategy's performance over the last year. And together with the score I give to all these factors makes this algo perform better than its original position in the strategy league. The next algorithm is a pretty popular one, because the videos I made of its performance has one of the highest views. And when I tested this algo out, I expected to at least perform as one of the best, since it has a buy and sell condition for almost every situation. But what surprised me the most was its amount of trades over the whole of 2023. Only 63 trades on the 5-minute time frame, whereas the Power X strategy on the 4-hour time frame has over 1300, of which I think is the other end of the scale with too much trades on the high time frame. Again, taking the weekly performance chart here, I can discover a little bit more about the way the algorithm responds to last year's market circumstances. In the beginning of the year, until around the beginning of May, this algo had positive weeks. But during May and June, where the overall market circumstances were not so great, the Bitcoin price had a major resistance at the $30,000 level, and the price had a pullback to around $25,000. During that pullback, this algo had some bad performing weeks that caused the drawdown to rise to its highest level at 8%. Which in comparison to the other strategies is not much, but it still caused a negative balance on the overall trading account. The major factor why this gets the 18th spot is a combination of a high win percentage, low drawdown, good profit factor, and the way all crypto trading pairs respond well to this algorithm. But I still find it strange that this very complex trading strategy has this low trade amount on the 5-minute time frame. And it would probably take a lot of time to find out why this low amount of trades was happening. However, since this is the original algorithm that has a somewhat flat profit performance curve and has no high drawdown, I cannot complain that much. It is the first algorithm that you probably still would keep active over the year, although it has high opportunity costs in relation to the baseline Bitcoin investment. Now I have to point out that this does not mean that all the strategies so far are worthless. It only means that these specific algos do not fit the overall market situation that happened last year. Over a longer backtesting period they would probably be profitable again, because overall they scored well before 2023. It just happens to be that the last crypto bear market and the rise in 2023 do not fit these specific strategies. Now the next strategy that I have in the original top 25 and which scored on the 16th spot is the alligator strategy. The end balance of this strategy is more than $1,500. And on the first hand, and again I might tell you, the numbers at the end of the backtest do not appear to be really frightening. And the Kalmar, Shortino and Sharpe ratios here show that as well. But as you can see from the win rate and the drawdown, together with what we know from similar types of strategies, you might suspect to see a familiar chart on the account balance. And you are absolutely correct, because looking at the original FracTrade plot and next the account balance plot, a similar situation appears as the other higher time frame strategies. A few bad weeks at the beginning of the year at around the lowest point of the bear market, which took your account balance underwater, and then finally at the end of the year some lucky trades that skyrockets the balance again into positive territories. And with the alligator strategy I can imagine this, since it is not fit for ranging markets, but it's better suited for trending markets, which started around October-November. And saying this makes me think that I know what's going on with the performances until now. The first 3 higher highs in the crypto happened so quick that the strategies I discussed so far could not respond well to these bumps. They all make use of lagging indicators, and thus did not have the possibility to respond quickly to these rapid changing market circumstances. On the moment they finally started to trade, they already entered the game too late, resulting in trades that lost or had no or very limited profits. And maybe somebody else that views this video can confirm this or has their own theory on what the possible causes can be. And if you do, then please do add it to the comments below so that everybody can benefit from your insights. Now, I told you that the Ichimoku indicator was one of my favorite indicators here, and again I have two strategy versions that are based on this indicator. If we compare these two results, then we see that the end balance of these two variants do not lie far apart from each other. The win rate is almost exactly the same, but the amount of trades has a big difference here. The futures version has almost twice as much trades in comparison with the spot trading version. And I think this is normal because trading with futures can be with long and short trades, thus having two directions to trade on. The thing that disappoints me a little bit here is that trading two directions does not necessarily mean that profits are also doubled. If I open the charts on the account balance, then we see better how their performance is over time and if there is much difference here. But unfortunately, these account balance plots do not look optimistic. Again, I get another piece of information on why these types of trading strategies perform like they do. And it disappoints me a little bit that the futures version did not make optimal use of bullish and bearish market circumstances, but instead has a sharper decline after the bot's active trading in comparison to the strong signal-oriented spot version. If you watch closely, you can see that the strong spot version started to trade around April 2023 and the neutral futures version in March. The main reason for these late trades is that with these strategies, the Kumo cloud has to form first to complete these indicators. And only after this data is available, there can be trades made. And again we can see here that only at the start of the third quarter of 2023, these strategies came to life, when the possibilities of long swing trades came available, and finally starting to catch some major pumps of altcoins. For example here with the spot strong variant, it catched the AVAX, Solano, Cardano and some other altcoin pumps, making the losses of the complete year good in a couple of trades. The next strategy that enters the 13th spot is the flawless victory strategy. In the original league, it took the 24th spot on the 30-minute time frame. But over the 23 dataset, it showed its strength and took the 13th spot in the test if you used it on the 1-day time frame. Not that it would beat the Bitcoin baseline, but at least you would have a profit last year. Now, this algorithm also had some sort of a warm-up time and only started to trade around April or so. It then would suffer the same crypto market conditions where there was a pullback after April's high, but after that it would have its best times and at least kept your account balance in the profits. So maybe I can start to be a little bit more optimistic from this point on, and I will be very curious to see how the other 12 strategies will perform. On the 12th spot we find the optimized smart money strategy. This one was also placed as one of the lowest scoring strategies on the original strategy league, but now it scores pretty well on the same 15-minute time frame. However, if you take a good look at the amount of trades, you see that something is not right here. The best time frame is the 15-minute time frame and it has only 14 trades, and with only 26% of the 50 pairs in the configuration. And this has also an effect on the Kelmer ratio, that has a value of 337 and a Sortino ratio of 134, so something is fishy here. And indeed, if I open the profit curve's weekly performance on this algo, then we can see that it actually does nothing the whole year. And by nothing I do not mean it does not trade, but it opens trades on some pairs in the beginning of the year and keeps these open the whole time, as you can see here in the parallelism plot. In this case, the first signals would come from XEC, QNT and ETC and some others. And at the end of the year, these positions would be closed, effectively setting the parallelism to 0 again and also improving the account balance to $1,600. However, besides the fact that I do not really think this is trading, but more of an investment strategy, I think that as long as you hold these trades open, you have the risk of losing your money. And finally, I suspect an error in this trading algorithm for some reason. And I will not blame you for having the same thoughts when you see this. But on the other hand, maybe smart money does not trade that often and only invests in real opportunities. And this algo reflects that opinion perfectly. But don't let me fool myself. This is just a very strange behavior from this algo. And I do not think I would recommend to use this algo unless I'm absolutely sure what happened over last year's data. Nonetheless, these are the results I get from the backtesting engine, and this is just a strange exception here. I'll just have to keep this in mind for the future and proceed with the next strategy on the list. And I warned you earlier, the Ichimoku indicator was tested rigorously and had a lot of strategies entered in the original league. But I promise there is only one Ichimoku based strategy left, so bear with me. This version does short and long trading and will only trade on the strongest signals with the most confirmations, so actually the most advanced version of the bunch. However, it still suffers from the same problems as the other long-term swing trading strategies on the list. Initially, it seems to have good numbers on factors like drawdown, karma ratio, Sortino and Sharp, as well as the profit factor. But looking at the way the algo performs over the year, after the warm-up of the algo, it already suffers its drawdown as a consequence of market circumstances. Luckily, the drawdown only was slightly more than 12%. And again, around October, the algo experienced more positive weeks than negative weeks, until the last week of the year, where the best trades occurred. Because most strategies have these real good trades at the end of the year, and I also believe that this is no error in the tests. But the market circumstances favored these types of strategies around that time. Not that it mattered much though, because until now all tested algos do not still come close to the initial baseline where a profit of 170% was reached. Also, the best Ichimoku variant does not come close. So, let's now start with a countdown of the 10 best strategies tested over the data of 2023. At the 10th spot there is the lower Bollinger Bands strategy. The end balance of this algo is not the highest of all these tests so far, but overall the other numbers of the 5-minute timeframe does seem to be balanced out, except for the Sortino ratio, which is exceptionally high. The profile the account balance also has makes me somewhat optimistic. There is only a drawdown of max 5.5%, and at the half of 2023 this algo starts to really perform well, with some good profitable weeks. I also start to notice that the account balance curve zigzags around the zero line more, which also results in a higher score of course. Now, a profit curve does not say anything about the context of other performance indicators, which also gives you insight in the risks you experience. But in relation to the strategies that are lower than position 12, you now can see clearly that this performance line does not dive deep into the negative profits and stays relatively close to the zero line or higher. The low Bollinger Band strategy scores primarily on its high Sortino and Sharp ratio and its low drawdown. Also, the high profit pairs ratio adds up to the total score. At number 9 we find the Beastbot strategy with an end balance of $1,300. Still way below what we could have if we bought our Bitcoin, but I can see a new pattern emerging. The win rate keeps reasonably high, also in comparison with the amount of trades, and the drawdown is almost minimal. Pairs respond well and the ratios do not seem to be that out of range. Taking a closer look at the profit curve, we finally see a strategy that gains profits right from the start and, although it has a drawdown, did not put your account balance underwater. Also, the wins and losses over the year give some satisfaction, since you would experience more winning trades than losers. And that creates a confidence boost that is not mentioned enough in trading psychology. Overall, this algo scores good over almost all performance indicators. And hopefully the Beastbot strategy will be the first one that gives us a glimpse of the performance of the strategies with the algorithms that holds place 8 and higher. So let's continue quickly with number 8 on the list. And maybe I'm too optimistic here by saying that the pattern of positive trading strategies gets confirmed here. But looking at these results, we definitely enter the territory of algorithms that would not have disappointed us in 2023. Again, I keep repeating myself, but the end result is still not comparable with the Bitcoin investment. But at least we might see the strategies that on the longer term, let's say the next bull market cycle, have the possibility to outperform such a Bitcoin investment. The interesting thing here is that with this specific strategy, on the 30-minute time frame, the amount of open trades is not that spectacularly high. Instead, the trades are short and profitable. And I just told you about the psychology of having more wins than losses, and here is another example. You might already know that this is inherent to the type of strategy, like swing trading strategies that have more losing than winning trades. And in this case a strategy that apparently has a better way of handling ranging markets, like what happened last year. You can see here that clearly by looking at the curve of the cumulative profit, the algorithm catches some good pumps at the start and end of 23, and at the same time it seems to hold well when markets are ranging, and is not or trades less in the ranging zone, preventing losing trades and the drawdown. The plot that shows the average profits and losses over the year also shows here that at the beginning and the end of the year the highest average profits were made, and the biggest drawdowns occurred in the middle of the year. And mind you that by saying big I only mean a max of 2% drawdown. So overall this strategy would be a joy to see in action in 23, and it definitely deserves the 8th spot. So now let's quickly see the 7th spot and see how that one performed over 2023. The obelisk Ichimoku Zema currently holds the top spot of the strategy league over the data pre-23. In other words, this algo performed the best over all the previous bull and bear market cycles of the crypto I use in the list. Therefore it surprises me a little bit that if you would use this algorithm in 2023, it would not perform the best of all. If you watched the video about this algorithm, you might already know that this works only on the 5-minute time frame, and I could not test this in other time frames. Not that the current performance is bad, but we still have to keep the Bitcoin investment in mind, and this performance still lags behind. But the profit curve is a beauty to see, and it would be a joy to see this algo attain profits at a regular base. Also, over last year it had an average drawdown of 1.5%, which is truly admirable to say the least, better than the swing trade strategies I showed earlier. As a side note, I also have to say that the moment you start a bot that executes an algorithm is of the utmost importance. Over the dataset of 23, I had the luck that that year started with one of the lowest points of the bear market, and it ended almost at the year's high. Would I do this test over the data of 2022, then our strategies would perform probably very poorly. Perhaps with the exception of the futures version of some of these strategies, because they can trade shorts as well. So if you watch one of my videos or any other trading channel strategy video, then the moment you start to trade that specific strategy, manually or with a bot, that moment is also very important. So again, if you see one of my testing videos and you start your bot with that algo and it performs unexpectedly poor, then watch the overall chart and ask yourself if you started the bot at the right time. So please keep this information in the back of your head if you want to start trading or want to start using a bot. Let's get back on track and continue with the number 6 strategy on the list, which is the BinHV45 strategy. This 15-minute time frame algorithm has a 50% profit percentage. The individual ratios numbers do make me slightly worried, since they are very high rates. It could be that the strategy has something to show us that needs further investigation and explanation, since I also think that the amounts of trades for this time frame is pretty low too. And looking at the way the cumulative profits grow, there is something interesting going on between September and November. Because it seems that this algorithm has a good indication on where the market ranges and where it pumps. Because during September and November, the overall crypto market ranged, and from November it started to move again. You can also see this with the other two flattish lines around April-May and again around June-July. The trades chart also adds more details to this story. This algo has a mechanism that detects ranging markets and activates again when the market moves again. You can see this more clearly on this plot because the amount of trades does not rise during these ranging periods. And this also results in a low drawdown that stays relatively stable as well. This also makes this trading algorithm one of the first that has a very steady rising profit curve with hardly any big drawdowns. Again, this is over the market profile of last year, and other years with other profiles can negate this conclusion. But as for now, I can honestly admit that the last couple of algos are certainly worth my attention for the coming bull market, even though the profits are not that spectacular. So, with the number 6 spot discussed, we are finally entering the top 5 trading strategies that could or should be used in 2023. Again, it is always 20/20 hindsight with these tests and a hypothetical exercise nonetheless. But with this information we can make more educated guesses for the coming future. Now, the CluckMay algorithm does not make you the most money, and the end score is only marginally better than the just discussed BinHV45 algo, but its performance numbers are still impressive. And the way the profit is built up does make me feel that I have a small preference to this strategy instead of the other one. The reason here is more subjective and has more of a personal psychological background. I'd rather see a trading bot using an algorithm that is active and increases my account balance ever so slightly but steadily, instead of having a bot doing nothing for a couple of months, making me doubt if the algo still works, and in the end me trying something else. While it was actually the exact intention of the algo to do nothing at that moment, only it does not mention that and making me think it is broken. So here you can see that there are still trades happening even though some of them are losses, but the winning rate is still moving away from the losing trade line, making the end result a win rate of 65%. And you can also see that the overall performance indicator scores that this strategy is not always the best at some performance indicators, but consistency is very important here, and it can make you win championships even though you never won a race or match the whole season. So this makes this trading strategy end up at the 5th spot, with a very small difference in end score between the numbers 5, 6 and 7. The strategy that I tested and landed on the 4th spot is the SMA offset protection strategy. It was the 2nd best performing algo so far, and with its hypothetical performance over 23, it landed on the 4th spot. And well, I think this is not bad at all, because the original best time frame of 30 minutes did not change. It still performs best at the same time frame. And with a 37% win rate and drawdown of less than 4%, this makes me again curious to see what the cumulative profit profile is over the year. Again, these flat periods where there seem to be no trades at all for weeks still makes me worry a little bit. Would I keep faith in this algo if I did not see any action for days or even weeks, even on this low time frame? Maybe if I see these profiles, I wouldn't worry about this anymore in the future, but if I started the bot a year ago with this exact strategy and I would see this happening, I would not be so sure about it. You can see this on the chart with the trades as well. Complete periods where there is no trade made. Again, these are the periods where there is a sideways market, and I know this now, but again, would I trust this if I used it in the past? Anyway, the drawdown periods are sharp and last not that long, and all occur on the positive account balance, so not too frightening. And the comparison with the other well-performing trading algorithms does seem to have a similar pattern. So let's just take a short look at the overall scores of the performance indicators here and see if there are any remarkable things here. Only real thing here that draws my eye is the win percentage of this algo. And if I see this correctly, this is the 2nd best score. In this overview I will not really count the score of the smart money strategy here, since it had so few trades and that can easily lead to a very high percentage. So if you put this into perspective, maybe this SMA offset strategy has the highest win rate so far, if you count only the active algorithms here. The only graphs here seem to show no spectacular things at first sight. So let me continue with the next 2 strategies on the top 25 best performing algos over 2023. And these are close siblings of each other, namely the Bollinger-Bands real pullback TSL variants. Now I must admit that I only made a video earlier of the better performing version of this strategy, but I kept the other version as well in my own league since I found it performing so well. Also, I do not always make YouTube videos or post of all strategies I test, since this would take up a lot of time. And some of these algos do have such bad performances that makes the invested time to make videos and blog posts not worthwhile. Nonetheless, I keep the results here because I otherwise test them double later, and that's a waste of time as well. Anyway, both these pullback strategies have almost similar and good end results in the 2023 test, whereas in the original strategy league they are ending further apart from each other. Also, this time they have better results on the 1 hour time frame instead of the 5-minute time frame in the league. The V2 version scores better on profit percentage, win rate, average and win streak, but it lags behind in drawdown and ratios in comparison with the other pullback version. Nonetheless, there are very minor differences here, and that is why they score that close together. If I compare these strategies on the profit curve, then we can see that on the weekly chart the second version has an ever so slightly snappy trading result with these small peaks. The first version is more smooth and has longer flat periods at first sight. This can also be seen if I compare the profit-loss charts with each other. The second version has some higher performing weeks, but it can also suffer some weeks that have higher losses as well, making the average plot line fluctuate more over time. If I only use the performance indicators plot, then we can see better at which indicator the second version of the Bollinger Real Pullback strategy performed better or worse than the first version. Again, the differences are not that big between these two, and it's only a matter of personal preference and your own deep dive investigation to find out which version has your preference for trading profile. However, there's one more important thing that I conclude at this point. Even though we landed on the second position of the best performing strategies I tested so far, we still did not manage to make more money than the simple Bitcoin buy and hold strategy that we used as our baseline for this year. Does this still mean that these specific top 25 examples make them bad strategies? Well, I personally think not, because I tested these all out and they could potentially make money based on the results in the past. However, in trading there is always the fact that past performance does not guarantee future results, and all the tests I do are based on a hypothesis and I only test it on historic data. You should always take into consideration that trading involves risk taking, and you should be aware that you potentially can lose all your money on your trading account balance. Therefore, you should only use the money you are willing to lose and can afford to miss. No matter if this is with manual trading, bot trading, investing or other investment types like NFT trading, gambling or other stuff where your money is at risk. Even setting your money aside on a bank or a savings account involves risk, although not that high, because your money can devaluate because of inflation. It all has to do with your risk profile and the willingness to put your money at work at low or higher risks. Now, before I continue, I first want to congratulate you by making it this far. Furthermore, I want to thank you all for watching this video, for clicking the like button and adding your comments about this video in the comment section below. If you only want to say hi or thank you, the YouTube algorithm will greatly appreciate this. Also, for the people that want to simulate these tests and want to develop their own in-depth information, I will leave all the output of the tests, strategies, plots, figures and more on my Patreon site. And I will even share one of my own experimental charts on these strategies' performances, so you have a complete package of data. So if you want this, then please support me by becoming a patron and consider this as the additional benefits. And now, without further ado, let's see what the best performing algorithmic trading strategy over 2023 would be. In theory, we only had to use this single one trading algorithm to attain the highest profits over last year. And that is the Godstra algorithm. It's all in the name. This algo seems to have the best edge to provide us with the greatest wealth over last year. And what also strikes me is that this is the only strategy that actually outperformed the Bitcoin buy and hold investment over the last year as well, all with a theoretical profit of 252%. This wealth was attained on the 1-day time frame. But even if you use the original best performing 4-hour time frame, you had outperformed the Bitcoin baseline. However, to be straight to the point and realistic, the 22% pairs rate catches my eye immediately. This indicator tells me right from the start that only 9 or 10 pairs respond positive to this trading algorithm. All the other values look to be quite normal. So when I open the log file of this time frame, I see that in this case the algo heavily depends on altcoins and their tendency to pump heavily. And if I show the profit curve, then we can see that this algo pumps heavily at the beginning of last year, when the market rallied to its first high in that year after a dreadful bear market slow. As it seems now, only some of the altcoins we've seen a couple of seconds ago triggered this algo to make a buy. And only a few of these pumps made the initial profit end up at more than $1,000 profit. So these few trades were better than the whole year's worth of trading of the second place scoring algorithm. After that, a period of consolidation began, and during that phase it experienced its drawdown peak of 27%. If I want to see the way the win percentage of over 88% was built up, then I will show the next plot. And it almost seems that there are no bad trades here. Another thing I want to mention here with this strategy is its active trades. The following plot shows an overview of some of the other plots I already shown you, but in another form. But this time I want to focus on the parallelism plot. Here you can see that the bot is active the whole time, most of the time holding a position or quickly exchanging one coin for the other. Some of the pairs that also performed well are AMP and Gala, together with some other well-known altcoins. And especially these altcoin pumps made the algo perform like we know now. And to round this off, I only want to show you the overview of all the performance indicators again. And it's interesting to see here that the best performing trading strategy with its best profits and win percentage also suffers from the biggest drawdown peak of them all, together with the lowest pairs with profit percentage. This all seems very contradictory, but also logical at the same time if you spend enough time in crypto. Because my personal experience is, and that of other crypto YouTubers that you might follow as well, is that the biggest gains are with altcoins and not so much with Bitcoin. The king of crypto is worth your investment if you look at it from a long-term perspective with a reasonable amount of risk, and it should be the base of your portfolio. But the biggest gains in any crypto market comes from the altcoins. However, you will have to be careful not to buy randomly, because there is a high possibility that you will end up being a bag holder of worthless coins. Cherry picking or having a strategy on which pairs to trade is of the utmost importance here. In my case, I used the top 50 best selling pairs of 2022, but you can also think of diversifying strategy with, for example, trading the top 10 coins based on market cap, on their level 1 purpose, NFT platform, gaming platform, and so on. The possibilities here are limitless and all depend on your risk appetite and familiarity with the crypto market. I just wanted to demonstrate here that there are no absolutes in trading and there is nothing sure in the future. With the knowledge gained from this exercise, it could be a good overall investment strategy to buy and hold a couple of investment-worthy coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And besides that, use trading strategies that aim for long-term swing trading and shorter-term scalping. So to diversify your crypto investments and thus spreading your risk. Whether it be by doing manual trading or using a bot to do the trading for us. But for now I think I made my point and I must prevent myself from rambling on about this topic and keep repeating myself. You have just watched an overview of a test of the top 25 best performing trading algorithms for crypto and how they would perform over the year 2023. What you see here are the results of this video's 2023 test. When I continue to test out future trading strategies and algorithms, I will use the old data again and thus compare over another time period. But I already explained this earlier in this video. So do not be surprised to see the old leak back again in the next video I make. And to finish this video off, I hope that you found this interesting, informative and useful enough, and I hope you learned something from this video. I certainly know I did. Have a successful next bull run and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!